Thank you, everyone. I apologize. I didn't realize that video was so long. It was pretty much the whole speech. But I'll try to keep this one short and more concise. So today, I really wanted to emphasize and declare two statements before we started. The first statement is that, one, we have all played a game in one way or another. And I think it's a very important fact because at our age, we have probably played many different types of games. So that's the first fact. The second fact is we have probably and most likely enjoyed it, one game or another, since we were young. And that's the key thing that I want to focus on today. Why do we enjoy playing games? Now, what elements of a game makes it interesting for us? I know it seems like a mundane question to ask, but every day in our lives, we allocate so much time to gaming. Well, I do, and it's my job, but I think most people will play one form or another with their children, with their friends on the weekends, but it's an important question, right? It's a form of entertainment that we consistently participate in. I have two images on the screen here, both which are games. One is a somewhat modern version of a video game. On the other hand, we have a traditional game that I grew up with when I was young. And my question to all of you is, which one do you resonate with? Right? Everyone in the room would probably have a different opinion or an affiliation with one or two of these different types of games. Now, one thing I want to emphasize here is gaming is very contextual, right? So when I say I identify with the Super Nintendo controller more than the marbles, it really depends where I grew up, what age I am, how I played games, who I played with, right? And I'm not afraid to say I'm old enough to remember playing marbles, okay? And it's a social, interactive, and competitive game that we played when we were kids. And you played to win, because if you lost, you would lose your marbles, right? Now, why do we enjoy games? This is one of the first things that I really want to talk about today. And I have a very, I don't want to call it professional, I just want to say I've put in enough hours to really understand why people enjoy games. And it's one of the things we do in our business is we have to decide what games people will like. We curate an experience for individuals when we publish games. So, why do we enjoy games? So, a game is like any other form of entertainment, right? There's a start, there's a middle, and there's an ending. Now, to make this go a little bit quicker, I'm going to start at the end. So what makes the end of a game so special? If we look at the ending, there's two possible emotions that everyone identifies with at the end of a game. The first one is you win, and you feel good, right? And this isn't just video games, it's any game, a sports event. You win, and you feel good, right? The second emotion is when you lose. Now, you don't feel as good, but there is a sense of motivation that makes you want to win next time. You will play again, and you will want to do better. That's called motivation. And that's really important in gaming. Now, there's also the middle. The middle in games is also very interesting. There's an immersive experience, a story, there's the mechanics of the game, and there's the overall characters involved. It could be other players, it could be characters in the game. If you think of every game you've ever played, there are elements to that. There are those elements in that. And that is what binds us into the game. Now, my favorite part of a game is the beginning. Even before we started playing the game, we are thinking and anticipating several things. The first thing we're thinking about is, how do I play this to win? Who am I playing with and against? What's my strategy? What's the story? What's the context of this game? How do I play this game? What are the rules, right? There's a million questions and decisions that you need to think about before you even started playing the game. And that's why a game is interesting. Now, I know our business is in video games, but I want to bring an example that is non-video games. How many people here have actually played Monopoly? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, see, when I asked you, I had to ask because games are contextual. We're in Vietnam. I can't assume everyone's played Monopoly. So, Monopoly is a tabletop game, as we all know. It's competitive. There's 4 people playing. You're competing for limited resources on the board. You're trying to build houses on the best streets possible. You're trying to charge rent on those houses and acquire as much of the points or currency as possible. Sometimes you'll work together. You'll play with your friend. Someone's being mean, you guys kind of gang up on them. Or you play alone and you try to win. But in the end, you still can play competitively or collaborate. And that's part of the social element of games. So, if we look at gaming overall, even in a board game, we have a concept called immersion. Even when you're playing a board game, you are part of a story. You are part of a journey. And you are moving along through, even in Monopoly. You're working together, you're working against each other, and you're trying to achieve an outcome. And that's a very important part of entertainment. And we allow ourselves constantly and regularly to participate in this form of entertainment. And that's what makes games great, right? In my example of Monopoly, we have a social element, we have a strategic consideration how to play, and a satisfying win or a motivating factor to get you to play again. I'm very biased. I love games, and the long video that you saw proves it. And I finally found a job that allows me to do what I love every day, and I can prove to my mom that I'm right. Gaming does get you somewhere. Now, I know it's a great thing to get to say to your parents, but it's only part of the story, right? The next thing I want to really talk about is how does gaming impact our life? This is the more practical aspect. Now, I know gaming has a lot of bad reputation. Parents, a lot of you may be parents already. I myself am one, and I think about the same thing. Games cannot be a replacement for education. There are better ways, easier times. Go outside, touch grass. We tell our kids this all the time, right? But I want to say 2 things about games here. Number 1, gaming is a tool. Okay? It helps us promote positive or sometimes negative individual behavior. Okay? Second point is, games and gaming are a catalyst for technological change or change overall. These are big themes in our industry and actually around the world. I will not spend the whole time trying to argue that, hey, these are great ideas, right? I'm just going to distill this into a couple very specific points. Now, the first point I want to point out is this. If we look at games and we talked about how much we enjoy it, why we enjoy it, the mechanics of it, it promotes positive reinforcement, right? You play a game, you win, you lose, you want to play again. So, my point is that why don't we use gaming as a way to reinforce and educate positive behaviors, right? It's possible. I think we do it all the time in different ways. We gamify a lot of different experiences to create those behaviors. Now, more often, it's hard to say, hey, we just gamify everything, right? We cannot let our kids, young people, just run loose. We have to have certain guardrails, and that's where it comes down to managing the content, curating the content, so to speak, or providing guardrails in terms of time, how much time we spend it, what types of game we play. Now, if we do this well, we are helping people use games to reinforce good behaviors and using a positive experience to be able to do that. And people respond well to positive experiences, right? And that's why it's an important part of educating, is creating a positive environment for them to learn. So that's the first argument I wanted to make. The second thing is, how has gaming and the gaming industry impacted our life? Now, you see a list of many different things on the board: graphics, processing power, UI, networking, VR. You may not be familiar with a lot of these things, but the simple fact of the matter, the salient point I want to make here is that the commercialization of gaming has allowed us to create an industry, or many industries, around technology. And I'll give you a simple example: graphics, right? At the beginning, games are text-based, little words rolling along the screen, and the hardcore gamers would just read the text, enter a word, and the game would progress. Today, we have games on devices as small as a mobile phone. Okay? The advent of that graphical technology was large in part enabled by the demand of individuals looking for more graphics power, more processing power, to be able to play games, to be able to have that positive experience. Now, that's not to say that these technologies have now evolved to apply to other uses, but the fun and interesting and positive experiences people wanted from gaming helped to expand a lot of these industries. A really good example is virtual reality. The first applications were, and still are, predominantly gaming, but this has evolved in addition to include medicine, architecture, right, construction. Many different aspects are now having practical uses because, hey, the industry was starting off by gaming. A lot of people jumped in and decided, okay, I could try this. It's fun, it's positive, it's interesting. And with the commercialization of that technology, then people found other and more practical uses for it. And these are just a list of those examples. Now, I'm not here to convince you that gaming is great. I think that's a very personal choice. But one thing I wanted to make a point about is that everyone in this room has played a game in one way or another and has enjoyed it. And I want you to think about the next time you play a game, really think about why you're enjoying it, and possibly how you can enjoy it with other people, right? Thank you very much.